Thank you very much, Dev, for this kind introduction. I'm really happy to be a part of this very great instruction course where all my colleagues and mentors like RK sir are there. Thank you very much. And so the topic given to me is how to diagnose a failing bleb and the role of ASOCT to recognize it at an early stage. We all know how to diagnose a failing bleb. Most importantly, it is a clinical examination. That is a clinical way of evaluating a failing bleb. That's what we've been traditionally doing. That is based on intraocular pressure and also on the appearance of the bleb. So appearance of the bleb is usually done with the help of a slit lamp using a lot of bleb grading scales. However, this method is subjective and it does not give an exact quantitative assessment of the bleb function. So in order to get a quantitative assessment, we may have to go for imaging modalities like an anterior segment OCT or a UBM. So with the clinical evaluation, we have to diagnose a failing bleb. It means that the patient will have a high intraocular pressure. The bleb may be low or flat. There may be a vascularization over the bleb and also absent microcyst. Similarly, a good functioning bleb will have a lot of microcyst, a diffuse bleb, and very little vascularity. And also, we may have to diagnose it at an earlier stage or at a later stage. This is clinically based only on the time of presentation. For example, early bleb failures are usually seen within a month, whereas late bleb failures usually occur after a month. And other reasons to identify whether it is an early or a late failure depends upon the reason for the failure. That is, whether there is an obstruction at the ostium, it is because of the tight sutures or incomplete perforation of the Descemet's membrane, then that has to be an early failure and we can address it at an earlier stage. Whereas a subconjunctival or episcleral fibrosis, that becomes kind of like, it will start off early, but it may be there for a longer time and this will need a lot of intervention. So going on to the bleb morphology assessment, we have a lot of scales like the Wurzburg scale, which is based on the vascularity of the vessels, the corkscrew vessels, presence of encapsulation in the bleb, presence of microcyst. And then there is a Midgall and Hitching classification, which is again has 4 different types of blebs depending upon the intraocular pressure and the appearance of the bleb. It can be either a type 1 bleb, type 2 bleb, which is a good ideal bleb. That is, the bleb is thin, diffuse, and there is microcyst and good filtration is seen. And a type 3 bleb is where there is a very high intraocular pressure, and you can see here that there is a lot of vascularity. And the type 4 bleb is a localized encapsulated bleb. So all these are some of the signs and classification of the bleb morphology. And then what we use commonly is the Murphy's bleb grading scale or the Indiana bleb grading scale, which is the 2 commonly used ones in the clinical practice. So how this is graded is based on the area of the bleb. That is the maximum area of filtration, both horizontally and vertically. And it also takes into consideration the height of the bleb and the vascularity. So what these scales do is, it is like you have to compare your bleb, what you see on the patient with this picture, and then you will have to grade it accordingly. Similarly, the Indiana bleb grading scale is also the same as the Moorfield bleb grading scale, except that it has an additional one other parameter, which is based on the leak of the bleb. That is, the Siedel's test is also included in this. So that is the basic difference. However, with all these bleb grading scales, we may not really get attention on the early signs of bleb failure. So that is the need for an anterior segment OCT. We all know that anterior segment OCT is a non-contact, non-invasive imaging technology where it provides a good cross-sectional high-definition images in a 3-dimensional view, and it is based on the principle of interference. However, with the conventional, the posterior segment OCT, they use a diode light of 18 nanometer, whereas with the anterior segment, we use a 1310 nanometer wavelength light. And for those who are going for one-time investment, there is a module which is coming with the ASOCT also. That is, the posterior segment and anterior segment can be used in the same machine. And what is the role of ASOCT in imaging the blebs? Of course, it is a very good indicator of bleb function. It also predicts the bleb-related complication. It is helpful in identifying the blebs failing in a very earlier stage. It also demonstrates the level of failure. That is, where exactly is the reason for the failure. Like there is an ostial closure, a flap fibrosis, or episcleral fibrosis. So this is very important in guiding the clinician on the intervention, that is whether to do a needling, a suturolysis, or a 5-FU injection. So all these are very easily picked up at an earlier stage, and it helps in restoring the blood function postoperatively. It is also very useful to find out the presence of an intrascleral leak in a non-penetrating deep sclerectomy surgery, and also to identify the tube position in implant surgeries. So what are the parameters measured by the ASOCT? We have the qualitative parameter, which is based on the bleb wall reflectivity, and also the quantitative parameters like the bleb height, the bleb wall thickness, the scleral flap thickness, the subconjunctival fluid space, and also the internal dimensions of the bleb. In an ASOCT, in order to understand a good functioning bleb, we may have to look at these things. That is, the presence of a multiform reflectivity, a diffuse pattern of the bleb, and a progressive increase in bleb height on the review. A successful bleb is usually characterized by a good internal fluid-filled cavity with a wide hyporeflective area, thicker wall, and a large number of microcysts. So first thing is the reflectivity. This is basically the qualitative measurement. So uniform reflectivity and multiform reflectivity. So for good functioning bleb, we may have to see if there are multiform reflectivity. So if you see this picture, the one on the top is the uniform reflectivity, where you see just one small space here, and then you see that the conjunctival wall is very thick. So which means that it is really not functioning so well. Whereas in the picture down, you see that there are multiple small spaces here and the conjunctival wall is thin. So this is some important information on the functioning of the bleb. So this is another picture showing the multiform reflectivity where you see multiple layers of microcysts with a thin conjunctival wall. And the other parameters are the bleb wall thickness. So how is this bleb wall thickness measured? Is basically the conjunctival, the distance between the first reflective signal from the conjunctiva to the top of the subconjunctival fluid space. So this is what is giving the bleb wall thickness. And then we have pattern of the bleb. Even based on the pattern, you can classify it as diffuse, a cystic bleb, or a non-functioning bleb. So diffuse blebs are the functioning blebs. Basically, you see a lot of multiple subconjunctival signal void areas corresponding to the fluid pockets. And this shows that it has a moderate intrableb reflectivity, and it is a diffuse filtering bleb. Whereas a cystic bleb, you see one large area of a cystic space with a hyperreflective area, which is multiloculated. And then this is covered by a thin layer of conjunctiva. So this is a cystic bleb. And this is an example of a non-functioning or an encapsulated bleb where you really don't see any fluid space, but it is just a high intrableb reflectivity. So these are more in favor of a Tingnon cyst. So what are the benefits of doing an ASOCT imaging? One is to understand the surgical outcomes of trabeculectomy, and also to understand or recognize the area of fibrosis at an earlier stage. It's very important to plan for the intervention, and also to have an objective visualization of reversal of bleb function after any intervention. So this is something which is really very nice to see, because with the clinical way of assessment, we really do not appreciate the difference after the intervention. Either it could be a bleb needling or it could be a just needling. So it's very useful to visualize the changes that happen after treatment. So here's one patient who I would like to share. This is a patient who is a 46-year-old lady with a diagnosis of primary angle closure glaucoma. She was on 3 anti-glaucoma medications. Her intraocular pressure was 32 with a very advanced disc, and she had a very advanced field loss as well. She underwent a trabeculectomy with mitomycin C in her right eye. 6 weeks post-op, intraocular pressure was 36, and then she had a Tingnon cyst, which is as seen here. An ASOCT was done to confirm and objectively document the changes. And then we plan to do a needling of the cyst, and a post-procedure ASOCT was also taken. So this is what I was mentioning. It is very, very nice to see that the pre and post pictures of ASOCT after the needling. So this is a picture which shows a large dome-shaped cyst, and you can see the ASOCT picture here. So after the needling, you can see that the total reversal of the cyst. And we also, this is one other use of this. We also have ASOCT or an OCT guided overlay on this microscope. So this is a video which I've taken from my friend, Dr. Jayant, who is in SNEC. So they have used this. See, if you see, there is total fibrosis to begin with. So in their needling procedures, they usually use AC maintainer. It's also very important to use this because sudden gush of fluid can cause a hypotony. So some people usually practice to do this AC maintainer. So you see that it is a very fibrous bleb and very thin conjunctiva. I'm not able to see my slides.
Can we have 1 more minute, audiovisual team, please?
Just 10-20 seconds, I think that should be fine.
Yeah, ma'am, the slide has gone off because you are more than out of time.
Okay. I'm sorry about that.
If you can come to the concluding slide, it will be great, ma'am.
Yeah, that is the concluding slide actually. Can I share it again?
Yeah, you can share screen again. Yeah, you can share screen again.
Yeah. So it is also very useful to see this objective transformation of the change in the bleb function, which happens over immediately. So because of want of time, I'm just skipping this. So then, but limitations of ASOCT is that it is expensive and it does not pick up microscopic structures or changes which happen earlier, and that can be seen only with a laser confocal microscope. So the take-home message here would be the macroscopic and microscopic features of conjunctival blebs are predictors of surgical outcomes. A good clinical evaluation is definitely the gold standard, but however, it is very subjective. ASOCT helps in objectively differentiating the functioning from a non-functioning bleb. It recognizes the signs of filtration failure earlier, and it is very crucial for timely management. Combined diagnostic approach of clinical examination augmented by ASOCT must be a part of post-operative assessment of bleb function. Thank you.